Hello, Loving Without Boundaries community. It is Kitty Shambliss and B here. We are excited to be talking about an important topic. And first, I just want to say thank you for being here. We are glad that you found your people. Our group just keeps growing and growing. We are getting almost up to 13,000 people in this group that we've been cultivating and nurturing since August of 2015. And I just want to gently remind everyone, please know that there are guidelines and rules to remain a part of our community. They are listed on the right-hand side. You all agreed to them when you did join the group. And also, if you go under the Files tab, we also talk about what the guidelines and the rules are there as well. And there's all kinds of resources for you if you go under the Files tab as well. So we're glad that you're here. Myself and my team and the admins do our best to make sure that the group is safe so that you feel comfortable asking questions. Don't forget, you can also ask questions anonymously. If you just Google, how do I ask an anonymous question on Facebook, it will let you know how to do that. So there's many different ways to engage here in our community, called Loving Without Boundaries, Healthy Open Relationships, and Lifestyle Freedom, because Facebook wouldn't let me say sex positivity. So, so with that, let's get started on our topic for today, which is difficult conversations in consensual non-monogamy. And I'd love it, B, if maybe you get us started as we navigate through this topic, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's super exciting to be back here and bring a very important topic to our conversation today, which is, as Katie mentioned, difficult conversations. So I want to highlight that constructive communication skills, having the ability to have difficult conversation and going to a deep level with our communication is absolutely foundational for healthy and happy relationship, especially when we talk about having non-traditional relationships where so many things need to be navigated on a very frequent basis. For example, boundaries, agreements, scheduling. So there's absolutely a lot to discuss on an ongoing basis. So this is the reason why we brought this subject here, because what we keep noticing is that communication is one of the most widespread growth edges that we come across. And I gotta admit that was one of my most difficult growth edge as well. When I started working with Katie, I had absolutely no skills to have a proper conversation, difficult, deep conversation. So this subject is very, very close to my heart for sure. I also want to highlight that there's absolutely no shaming around that. And I would encourage you to not feel guilty about that if you don't have the skills, because throughout our lifespan, we are not really taught how to have meaningful, deep, difficult conversations in a constructive way. And if we keep thinking about our lives since our childhood, very often we are not even modeled healthy ways of communications. Mm-hmm. What's also important to notice is that if we let our communication run on autopilot, it can become an incredibly damaging weapon, not only to ourselves, but to our connections and to every people in our lives, regardless of what areas of our life we're talking about. The way that we can approach this in a very constructive perspective is if we consider communication as a very important skill that can build bridges between people, and if we see this as a transformative tool that can elevate our life. Mm-hmm. I want to bring a quote here that I really liked, and I feel that this is important to mention. This is from Jean-Paul Sartre, who said that every word has consequences and every silence too. So I want to touch on the consequences, and first talk about the consequences to the self. If we don't express things, if we don't express our needs, then we have no chance of meeting those needs. This can lead to a prolonged sense of despair, powerlessness, and isolation. Plus, just really strengthening the beliefs in ourselves, or creating the beliefs in ourselves that I don't have a voice, I don't matter, my needs don't matter, I'm not worthy to have my needs to be considered. And this is an incredibly painful state to be in that can really spread throughout our lifespan if we don't learn how to communicate, how to express our needs in a constructive way.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'd love to jump in here if that's okay, B.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think that beautiful introduction and just way to frame the conversation, B. I really think that's beautiful. So what I'd love to add here is that when we're not getting our needs met in a relationship, that can also start to feel dysfunctional. It can start to damage trust when we're consistently not getting our needs met. And it also can be something that's left over from childhood. We may have a lot of the work that we do is around what we call forbidden needs, when we think that we're not able to get certain needs met. If when we were growing up in our families, we kept getting told, no, you can't do that. No, don't talk about your feelings. No, no, no. So I love how you brought in the conversation about our needs. So yeah, so some of our needs that, or our values that may not be getting filled, are our need for love and connection. And we may not know how to ask for that very vulnerably, or how to vulnerably share our experience without making the other person wrong. Another need that might not be getting met is the need for significance, which can show up as self-expression, like not knowing how to express oneself in an authentic way. So that can go hand in hand with the need for significance. And also it could be a need for feeling safety or certainty, because maybe we don't feel safe in our relationship to express ourselves if there is kind of like a toxic or a dysfunctional dance that's going on. Or even sometimes we may be talking with people in the line of work that we do who might be in an abusive relationship and they're not 100% sure what that is. Or maybe it's just a period of time where people just don't have the skills that they need to move from an unhealthy communication style over to a healthy communication style. There's a concept called psychological safety, that is the idea that we may not feel safe to express ourselves due to fear of judgment from our partner, or due to fear of punishment from our partner. So those are signs that maybe either that relationship is unhealthy and needs some help, maybe it's time to leave that relationship or relationships, or also maybe the people just in that relationship or relationships just need some guidance and some coaching and some skills to increase their communication level, to move from what we might think of as like a violent way of communicating into what is more of a compassionate and respectful way of communicating. So I'll give the baton back over to you,
Yeah,
to share that as well.
you brought up such important points, and how this can have a ripple effect to our relationship as well, and can have really damaging consequences. I'd like to touch on a few examples of destructive communication forms. For example, sarcasm, passive-aggressive, screaming and yelling, judgments, blaming, criticism, comparisons. And if any of you think about this, who are listening or watching, this is really not a constructive way of build bridges between people. So if you remember a time when you felt that you were addressed in any of these ways, this doesn't feel us invited into the conversation. It doesn't create safety. The safety that you mentioned, Kitty, that sometimes we just don't feel safe to self-express. We all have our problem ends and our solution ends. And if we don't know how to use the proper communication tools, how to get into the right state to have difficult conversations, and when to time that, then we really like the risk of touching others on their problem end. So safety can deteriorate over time. People don't feel invited into the conversation, don't feel invited to safely express themselves. And this can just create a growing distance between people over time. What else can appear on a regular basis in relationships if there's either the unwillingness or the inability to have difficult conversations is misunderstandings, blurred boundaries, secrecy can come up, assumptions can be present, a lot of uncertainty and resentment. I also want to touch on a very painful point that can happen in even in long-term relationships as well, which is betrayal trauma. This is when we don't have or don't give the timely information for others to make informed decisions about their lives. This can cause a real upheaval in ourselves and in other people as well, and just really lead trust issues, prolonged trust issues. So one scenario could be here, for example, if someone avoids a conversation, for example, a closed marriage is opening up after decades, in a stage of opening up, and the partner just finds out that their partner that they trusted and they thought that they had a really, really close, intimate connection, felt polyamorous for the whole time being. And I just find it out 20, 25 years later. It can happen that I feel betrayed, and I'm going to start questioning everything up to that point, up till that point when the truth comes out that what else was kept from me. So this can lead to serious trust issues, and trust is a very, very fragile thing in a relationship, which can take a lot of time to rebuild, and a lot of consistency and a lot of work. And all this can be avoided if we cultivate the ability to have difficult conversations in a timely manner and bring the truth, our truth, in our authenticity to our to people in our lives.
Thank you, B. That was beautiful. A comment came in that I'd love to share, and I did address it a little bit in the chat here. It says, how do you communicate great and you and your partner talk, but nothing changes? So it's a great question. And if you are to feel, a lot of times when B and I work with people, many people will say, hey, we have really good communication, yet we're still not feeling fulfilled, or we're not moving forward, and we don't know how to solve it, or we're having maybe those same old arguments, right? Where there might be tension or stress, or you're just kind of going around in circles in a vicious loop. So no, again, there is no shame in that, right? That's normal and natural for that to happen, especially as you evolve and change and your needs grow. And the same thing with your partner. A lot of times when people are coloring outside of the lines of heteronormative monogamy, there can be growing pains on that journey, and you may need to up level your skills, because a lot of times the skills that work in monogamy, where there's only two people, right? You may need to up level your skills if you are starting to live a more authentic life. So a lot of times people may need to, you can call it going to, polyamory school or open relationship school, to learn how to change those vicious cycles, figure out where those patterns that aren't working are coming from, and learn new ways to communicate. And so a lot of the way that we do often help people is to give them advanced ways to communicate and help everyone to understand how to get to the heart of the matter, which is talking usually about the needs, what each person is needing in the relationship. Because otherwise you can end up on what we call the field of battle, where you just keep kind of clashing heads, instead of the way we help people is to help them understand how to get on the field of non-judgment. Remember earlier we were talking about there can be a fear of judgment where we don't feel safe, and also how we can get on the field of understanding, where you're starting to really see the perspective of the other person, be able to get into their shoes, learn to practice active listening, and put on your empathy ears so that you can really hear what the other person has to say. But if you don't up level those skills, sometimes you might just kind of keep circling the drain and just think, why are we not making any forward progress? Why, I thought we were communicating well. I mean, I'm speaking, English or whatever your mother tongue is, but we're not understanding each other, and it can start to make you feel crazy sometimes. So one quote I love is, our success in life is partly determined by the number of difficult conversations we're willing to have. And part of this journey too is to get more and more comfortable navigating through uncomfortable feelings as well, like realizing those feelings aren't going to take you out, or you're not going to die, just because you're having some challenging emotions typically. So I want to also give some hope here, but to help you understand, for anyone who's watching, that it's okay to realize, hey, I thought we were communicating well or good enough, but sometimes you may be at a new chapter in your relationship and you may need new skills to navigate that with grace, with the least amount of suffering, and actually start to build trust again, have that connection, have that emotional intimacy and that sense of safety in your relationship and safety inside of yourself. So I'll give the baton back over to you, B.
Yeah, I like to underscore a few points that you mentioned, Kiri, that this is a set of skills. So the ability to have conversations in a constructive way at whatever level boils down to a set of skills. So in my personal experience and professional experience as well, having the conversations, it's way more than just knowing the right phrases. You mentioned empathy ears and you mentioned active listening. And these are exactly the type of skills that underline the ability to have a successful conversation, to learn the skill set. And this is what is being taught in your absolutely life-changing program, how to set yourself up for success in all areas of your life, in any type of situation and any type of conversation. Because having the knowledge of the right words, the right phrasing is not enough. The ability to have constructive conversations in a deeper way, talking about difficult subjects that can trigger you or can trigger someone else, goes really deeper. It's a way of being, it's a way of thinking, feeling, and behaving patterns that need to be conditioned over time. And as you mentioned, Kiri, it's just so important to have those empathies for ourselves as well throughout the process, because sometimes we live with those patterns for 20, 30, 40 years, and changing something like that, it's going to take time. And sometimes it's a lifetime of journey to fine-tune those skills. And we'll actually learn in every single conversation. Every situation is a new opportunity to learn something about ourselves. And I'm still learning. I've been at this for a couple of years now, really intensively learning new skills and applying everything that I've learned from you. And still, there are some times when I wobble, when I sometimes snap, and then I catch myself and give myself lots of grace and lots of self-compassion. And I would encourage everyone to give just lots of self-love in the process of learning new skills, because wobbles are entirely natural. When we catch ourselves, it's such a reassuring thing to know that we have the right tools to grab really quickly, so that we can show up in those ways that we want to show up in our relationships, like with compassion, kindness, love, and empathy. So it is definitely a set of skills, and it's going to take time to condition new ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving patterns that includes communication as well.
Yeah, that was beautifully said, B. And one thing I can just add on to that, just to underscore it, is that without having those skill sets, as B was saying, it can be a consequence to yourself if you are self-abandoning and you're eroding your own sense of trusting yourself. Or it can also lead to anxiety, sleepless nights, or to losing your appetite because you're just kind of running around in circles with your partners, where you start to wonder, is this ever going to work? Are we ever going to figure this out? Which can also lead to serious health issues if there is a lot of stress and tension. And of course, there can be consequences in your relationships in terms of if there is emotional distancing, if your children are watching you kind of spin around in circles, or a lot of times people just tell me they're crying all the time because they don't know if they can sort this out or if they're going to have to break up. There can also be codependent tendencies in relationships that a lot of good, well-intentioned folks may not even realize is happening. There also can be boundary issues that people don't realize that they need help with their boundaries, and they don't know how to communicate those boundaries, or they don't know how to navigate towards healthy agreements with their partner so that they do have that sense of safety and security in their most cherished relationships. So thank you for sharing everything that you shared so far, B. But absolutely, like she said as well, you can learn to give yourself some grace as you're learning this, and you absolutely can learn constructive ways to communicate. You can accelerate that journey by doing it with your partner at the same time, going on that journey. And if anyone here has seen my masterclass, which I do live every month, but there's also a link to it under the file section, I talk there about you can become a no drama llama. So you can limit drama in your relationships and in your life by up leveling your skill sets. So if that is you, if you are saying this is making a lot of sense to me, I really do think that myself or me and my partners could really use some extra help, then I do encourage you to book a call. And let's see if I can get, here we go. That would be just simply going to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And when you go there, it just takes you into my calendar and you'll just pick a time that works for you. That's what B did a couple years ago. And she had such a transformational journey that she decided to become part of the team here and change careers. Just that's any testament to the amazing transformation that can happen by doing this work, by saying yes to yourself, by investing in your skill set and your mindset, and investing in your future. And after you pick that time slot, there'll just be a very brief form for you to fill out that just gives me some context for our conversation so that I can get to know you a little bit better, so we can make the best use of our time on that call. And then we'll just simply have an authentic, honest, and beautiful conversation. And if I feel that I can help you, we can put our heads together and put a game plan together about how to move forward. And if it's not the right fit or the timing's off, I will let you know that as well. And I will steer you in the best direction that I can for you, because we really care about this community. We're glad you're here getting the support that you need. And we want to be able to help you not just survive on this path of living your most authentic life, but thrive and compress time so that you can do it quickly with the least amount of suffering and fear, with more joy, more, and alongside other people who are ready to guide you and give you everything that you need to succeed. So we care about you and we want to see your success. So anything else that you'd like to add there, B?
What I would like to add is just really encourage everyone. Kitty, you mentioned about accelerating the progress. It's really a great idea if all of the partners come together and do a growth journey together. But if not, it's still an amazing thing that if someone reaches out for help, it's really a sign of courage. Whatever help, it's just raising my hand that I'm stuck. I would like to get this journey done in a much quicker way. And doing with Kitty is an absolute incredible way of learning skills that are life skills, that work, that are absolutely proven skills. And her 2 decades of personal and professional knowledge is behind everything that she teaches and helps with. And now she's a master level certified coach, so which is absolutely a true honor to work with someone who belongs to the very few percent of the coaches worldwide. So this is definitely an absolutely incredible chance to work with someone who really knows the ins and outs of how to create healthy and happy relationship, and brings together the tools that are needed to create a solid foundation for self-empowerment and thriving relationships within a short amount of time. What's amazing is that in addition to one-on-one coaching course and the program that gives modules on a weekly basis with absolutely transformative skill set, we also have group calls. We come together twice a week with these amazing people. We keep raising our vibes, and also there's a possibility for receiving feedback. So we keep learning from each other's mistakes, and we keep guiding each other on this journey. As Kitty keeps mentioning it, we are walking each other home. So that's an absolutely transformational journey that can happen within a very short amount of time. So if you're interested, if you feel that you could really use an expert help and a very supportive and safe environment, just go to that link and have a deep conversation with Kitty, a deep and honest conversation with her, and see if you are a fit.
Thank you, B. That was very beautiful and heartfelt. And I appreciate you. And I really deeply appreciate having you on the team. And I want to give a shout out to all of our admins and moderators of the Loving Without Boundaries community. If you see them in the group, you see the little admin shield, make sure to say thank you for all that they do. A lot of them are doing this on a completely volunteer basis because they love our mission here of helping people live their most authentic lives, free from jealousy and insecurity and shame and guilt in the open relationship and sex positive space. And they are here alongside you, with you, and for you. So say thank you to them. And I want to thank you all for being here as part of our community. And we're glad that you are here, and have a great day. And I will speak to you if you do decide to book a call to see if this might be the right fit for you, to find some extra guided support and if you need extra help. So with that, take care for now.